Whoa! It's the Illusion reporting from somewhere on Spaceship Earth. I'm on the Palisades Bluffs. I'm here with Richie Jackson, skateboarder.
Hello.
How's it going today?
It's going good, man. Going good.
Yeah, we're breaking it out. We were talking on the way here. Let's do this right, because all interviews do this wrong. Do your shout outs and your sponsor thing right now, because at the end it doesn't make any sense because everyone's fading by then.
Right.
Right?
I like that.
So
okay.
Do your shout outs and your sponsors and all that good stuff.
Well, I gotta thank Death Skateboards, first and foremost. Thank you to the Barracks for all their amazing work as of late. And Flower Children Clothing from Canada, thank you also. And those are my guys.
All right, we get right to that one right off the bat. I was wondering, where are you getting all this fly threads, man? Flower Children, huh?
Yeah, they hook it up, but I also do a lot of thrift shopping.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because I was like, dude, you don't just find that stuff every day. Where's your...
You kind of do, though. Like, I get people asking me where, they say that they can't find it. There's diamonds in the rough, man. Like, if you go to any Goodwill and search around, just looking, you'll find good shit.
True.
Yeah.
So you're a thrift store diamond in the rough hunter.
Fuck yeah, and shit's all cheap too, man.
Yeah.
This jacket's like $10 or something.
Yeah, I'm all thrift store all the way.
Right.
When I was running for city council, that was my whole thing. If it's not in a thrift store, I'm not buying it. Suits and the whole thing.
That's the way to go.
Yeah, I love thrift shops. So that's cool. So you're wearing clothes that other energies have possessed.
Precisely.
Different times.
Hopefully good ones.
Yeah. Well, that was sort of that was the golden age of the fashion that you're picking out of the past was a good time, I think, in like America.
Yeah, a promising time.
Promising time, definitely. The dream sort of imploded, but we're here to revive it.
We're here to revive it with the threads of yesteryear.
Yeah, positive energy. So we were talking on the way here, and you're originally from New Zealand.
That's right.
I don't know if most people... I thought from his accent he was from Boston.
They're similar, man. Definitely.
But see, you learn something every day. Richie's from New Zealand, and now he lives in Santa Monica, and you're doing the deal. So, let's talk skateboarding for a moment here.
Let's go.
All right, where are you getting your inspiration from? Because you're not doing it anybody else's way, which is why I'm a huge fan.
Well, I'm glad it appears that way because it's not actually what's going on. It's more about I'm picking up everything that's currently around or has been around in the past, and when I go skateboard, it does its own thing automatically, and that happens when anybody skates. You cannot avoid individuality. That's something that's going to happen. Like, whether you fight it or not, it's inevitable. So I'm never, I think it's impossible to not be entirely unique. Everyone is as different as a, individual snowflake, if I may use that example. But individuality is part and parcel of being a human.
Sure. Well, no, I get that, but like, for example, I was watching your Barracks video the other day, and you were doing that two-wheel carving to like shove it off the manual pad thing. Like, there's not a lot of cats carving on two wheels. I mean, people have done it, the whole thing, but like, you seem to have grasped all the unique stuff and turned it into like this goulash of really unique skateboarding that's very technical, like precise.
The thing is, I happen to skate with a lot of extremely creative and interesting people who are just my friends.
Okay.
And you may have heard of a cat called Micah Hollinger, and he gets funky with the two-wheel carve all the time. So I actually have to give it up for him there for opening my mind to those realms.
Yeah.
So it's who you hang out with, and it's,
Now, is there all right, like, how weird skateboarding is sort of faction-y? Something like there's the vert guys and the handrail guys and the street guys and the tech guys and all that stuff. How does your style play out with the sort of big corporate fucking machine that's skateboarding right now?
I don't know if it does, man. I'm more like the ghost in the machine, I'm gonna continue doing my stuff no matter what becomes of it or what I get in return. But as far as it plays out with that, I don't know, man. I don't know what the connection is. All I know is that the people that have the big corporate sponsors are fucking incredible skateboarders through and through.
Sure.
I spend enough time around them to appreciate just how fucking good they are. And I would never say that anything they're getting is undeserved, because that talent and that, you know, athleticism is very real, and it's fucking inspiring to be around.
Yeah, dude. Well, that's the level of skateboarding. It's like off the charts.
Exactly.
Versus where it was when I was, you know, in the 80s. I mean, it was still heavy, but like the balls to the wall stuff is, and the tech levels and insane. So, you know, when you're, but okay, that's more where I'm getting from. You're like at the core of it all, man. And that's what I sort of mean about the big corporate machine. You're skating for Richie Jackson at all times. Like,
I would say I'm skating for the sake of new ideas and experimentation.
Okay.
That's the only thing that's ever meant anything to me in skating, is like, wow, this is great to make something new, you know? I mean, I'm actually really scared of the word creative or creativity. To me, it kind of like, I don't know, I really don't like that word in a way. I'm kind of frightened of it. But if I could distill it, I mean, that's what it is. It's making something new. And I definitely enjoy the fuck out of that. That's all I know. That's all I'm doing every day, is I really enjoy making a new thing.
well, yeah, it's the, well, that's, you know, you've heard that some of those, not even skaters, like architects, you talk about like skaters riding their terrain that they design just as architects, and just like skateboarding itself is its own weird, trippy art form. Like,
It's its own language.
yeah.
That's what I find is strange about it. We're seeing the world under, you know, a completely different, I feel language is the best word, because those architects and other people that don't skate, they don't speak this language. The stuff that we do is utterly meaningless to them. Like, imagine, you know, people that don't skate watching people that do skate, watching a skate video. They are unable to understand why we have a particularly strong reaction at one point and why, you know, we snooze over another bit. To them, it's just all like garbled TV static. You know what I mean? Like, they're not speaking the language.
That's interesting. Okay, that kind of just segues right into another thing that I've always found, that like the skater perception, like, right, like we as skaters view the urban landscape 100% different than a soccer mom who doesn't have any kids who skate. Let's just say just Joe soccer mom going to get her nails done doesn't see what we see in the urban landscape.
Right. We're almost the answer to everything that's shitty about over-industrialization and capitalism. We're almost, you know, feeding on the decay of something that's pretty questionable in general. But we come along and we manage to turn it into a good thing, and turn it into a fun thing, and continue developing something out of the decay.
Yeah, well, that's why I got so like captivated by the Burnside and the whole do-it-yourself concrete skate park phenomenon going around the world. Is take the crappiest, shittiest part of town and take the garbage and build skate terrain.
Exactly.
Like, that's pretty wild shit.
Yeah.
And so you look at like a skater and the whole thing, like, we see things just different. Like, I just see the world different than, and it's not even like a skating, but skating's at the heart of it all, right? Like, when you've discovered the boundarylessness of like an urban landscape, for example, right? That there was all this, I don't know, depth to it that your average person can't see. Doesn't that just change your perception of all of it?
It's designed to wall you in, yet you use it to set yourself free.
Yeah. And once you set yourself free, you begin to like look down different avenues, I think. You know, for me, like I get into like stone structures around the planet, right?
Okay.
Like that whole thing, like I almost think about skate parks surviving all the nonsense, like the pyramids or you know, Angkor Wat and all that stuff, and then future civilizations will come by and find these Basically, there'll be nothing left but flat cement pads and pilings and skate parks.
And they'll be investigating the marks on it and figuring out what
trying to
went down
figure out what was going on with the, with the
Yeah.
coping will be all ground down. And my big thing on my tripped out mind is that actually skate parks fit the bottom of UFOs. That they'll come and land and they'll lock in and that we'll get on these things and take off when the time is right.
Well, that right there is testament to the limitless nature of human imagination, my
Yes,
friends.
exactly. Well, no, it's supposed to be. What's your trip on stone structures that predate our own understanding of like history and knowledge and information?
Well, I think that human beings are some ingenious creatures, and I think that that's a trait that could go much further back than we give it credit for. I think early humans most likely more than capable of erecting the structures that they did, and it's just so hard for us to grasp that because we see all the leaps we've taken in technology. But I think that same ingenuity and the same, DIY, like if I want to put this building here, I'm going to find a way to do it. I think that goes all the way back to those days. So I think they found ways to do it, they did it, and we don't necessarily need to invoke UFOs or supernatural intervention, because I think humans, for all their faults, are pretty fucking amazing if they want to get the job done.
That's cool, because that gets me to a thing I was listening. You ever check out Terence McKenna?
I do, yes.
All right, Terence McKenna was talking about the same thing you just said, the mysticism of aliens and UFOs, and the miracle thing is denying us our own like mental spiritual evolution, that like this mystic thing. When we come back to singularity, we are the alien.
Exactly. We've been doing it all along.
Yeah.
Right.
There is
It's been us all along.
See, I've always tripped on the thing of like, why, the UFOs, why would you drive essentially like a VW bus across the solar system?
Right.
When if you're advanced and it's all a thought, you would just come right into, like, right through the mind.
Of course. Well, if what we're looking for is an intelligent entity on a distant rock somewhere in space, that's what this is.
Yeah. That gets to my whole thing with the space on Spaceship Earth. Like,
exactly.
Most people view it. I don't know how most people view it, but I see as a dude who's done the environmental thing, who's gotten involved with things, is like it's a closed loop as far as the stuff I need my spacesuit to live on. And the minute you begin to look at it as a spaceship, you're like, whoa, this is pretty far out. We're jamming through the solar system, spinning around the sun.
Exactly.
And that gets us to the next question. What do you think about all this, like, December 21st alignment stuff?
I don't believe we have any real cause for alarm, but it worries me that people might think that they do, and I hope that there's no irrational actions on that date, because it'll come and go unless, again, it's us. If it's up to us. If we lose our shit, then something bad will happen. If we just relax and understand that Mayan prophecies don't really mean anything on the modern cosmic calendar, which we have a far greater understanding of the way things work, we're totally fine.
Well, no, that's what's trippy. If you check out, like, actually there is no, it's not a doomsday thing. They're saying
it's
like
the transformation.
But here we are, right?
Yeah.
Like two skateboarders sitting on the bluffs that met through random technology and communication and mistake.
Right.
Like, we met through mistake, by the way.
So we're invoking McKenna. What I would say about the singularity is that change doesn't ever come down to one specific moment. Change is ongoing. Change is happening all the time. Evolution's happening all the time. I think it would be short-sighted to put it down to one date when every day is integer by integer massive progression.
Now that's exactly what my whole trip about it is now, is like any moment. Right now you have the moment to get in the now and reinvent your own the time-space continuum.
Don't wait for a distant date to do it.
Exactly. And you ever check out Eckhart Tolle?
Yeah.
And that's his whole thing. You don't need to learn everything. It's all contained within the moment. Just let yourself have it.
If you want to learn it.
If you
you could use the present moment to do anything.
True. Well, so kind of by default, do you think there's people are afraid of the knowledge of their own power to like be in the now?
To a degree, yes. I mean, it is frightening because you're effectively, you know, responsible for what you do. That's, you know, the double-edged sword of it. It's up to you to do it, and that is a frightening thought. Where you're like, whoa, responsibility is frightening. And when you realize that you're responsible for your own potential, yes, that can be a very scary thing.
Yeah. Well, no, that's, I think that's where the whole, in a weird way, like that whole timeline ending this and that removes responsibility from like the thing.
Exactly. That's what I'm saying. They're like, oh, well, the world's gonna end anyway, or aliens are gonna come and save us. Like, that's putting the responsibility somewhere else, in someone else's hand, and that's bullshit. It's up to us.
Exactly. And that, all right, that almost, in a weird way, black helicopter? Is that a black helicopter?
Did you say too much?
Did we say too much? I think that was a black helicopter. They're listening in. We're breaking free of the boundary of their small dimensional vibrational space, man. And that, all right, that gets me to a thing, because you're tapped into Oceania and that kind of a deal down there. My whole trip is the Aboriginal, right? Like an Aboriginal walking around, he's in the now, he's getting his little grub, he's getting the water, he's letting the universe just guide him, and he's kind of manifesting what he needs because he's tuned into the Earth cycle and the whole thing. Now that guy, with all his millions of years of lineage, he doesn't have Fukushima on his mind. He doesn't have financial collapse on his mind. Slavery's not on his mind. The fucking plight of children in Africa's not on his mind. He's in the now. So in that dude's head, does any of that actually exist on, like, in reality?
Well, existence is dependent to some degree, unfortunately, at the stage we're at now, on modern technological development. As much as it's absolutely destroying the planet and slowly killing us from the inside, it's the one thing that can save us. Say there was, you know, an inbound asteroid which is going to collide with the Earth and destroy life as we know it. If there's, you know, a Stone Age technology, how are they going to stop it? They live and die by, you know, cosmic accidents. We are the only generation ever with the, you know, yeah, it's a lot of what we've created is terrible, but that same technology enables us to preserve the planet forever. We are capable of deflecting an asteroid, maybe, if we're up to the task. If we, you know, living off the land is fantastic and it's great, and I do sometimes wish for that simpler time, but at the same time, that simpler time could be utterly lethal.
All right, that's funny, because we were talking on the way about, like, being in nature and living in urban environments, and kind of when you go and get in the bliss of nature, you still kind of, some of us want to come back and live in urban landscapes. And for me, that was one of my big questions I had to ask in my early life. If I run away and become a hermit, am I ultimately doing more disservice to the planet than embracing the technology and trying to work within the system to create a better future?
Exactly. You can run, but you can't hide.
Right? And I see there's this sort of, I don't know, especially like in the spiritual thing, it's like, you can get all tripped out about it, but if you're not engaging in the system, are you really that spiritual?
Well, the system goes on with or without you, so you might as well play along and make it, turn it toward a good direction that benefits everybody, which is possible if you're involved.
Well, yeah, right, because if you only let the assholes run the show, exactly, only asshole things will happen, right? Like, if more positive people went, like you know, when I got involved, did the big city council run this last year, it was, people would say, and I would be like, why are you doing it? And I go, because not enough, like, people who are like, want to be positive are embracing this, and that's why it's a nightmare to get involved, is you've let all the lame people hoard the control panel, if you will.
Exactly.
And it's time to take it back through our own unique being ourselves, right?
Well, this is a good start. You know, the internet's one of the best things to put that power in the hands of the people. It's the best shot we got, I think.
What are you? Have you been watching what's been going on? I don't know how tapped into like with what's going on, but them trying to clamp down on the internet. Like the UN had a big thing they were trying to do, where they want to censor all the internet around the planet. Well, I mean, I know the answer, but what do you think? Like, here we are at the crossroads of like that.
Yeah.
Like, if we give up, it seems to me that there's a real thin veneer between being blasted back into Stone Age and moving to the internal, like, alien singularity.
Right, right. Well, I think for all, you know, as much as we don't like to see America as a free place, we're completely free to do what we like on the internet, and that can't be said for a place like China, where they do and North Korea, where they do have these insane restrictions on the internet. I mean, what we can do is see how that plays out, see how utter censorship of the internet affects those countries, and then you'll have your answer as to whether like it's going to send them back in time, or if it's going to, you know. That's
an interesting thing, because right, they say the next century is the century of the Chinese, so like they're making a huge move, but they're ultimately one of the most clamped down.
Exactly.
And they're kind of like making some huge advancements right now, especially in space exploration and stuff.
Which is great. I hope that they will reignite our competitive spirit and we'll get back up there again,
right?
Man.
What, like, all right, man. That kind of brings us back to the hope of the fashion, right? Like when the 60s and the 70s were booming, man, the United States was firmly involved in like a collective move to go into space, right? And I think that's where a lot of hope and ideals and like positive and like, yeah, let's do this thing.
Yeah.
See, I'm a huge believer in space technology. I think that's the answer to our whole deal.
Likewise.
Okay, so you're down with...
It's the only way.
It's the only way, right? Like, get to Mars.
Yep. Just get out there. Get out there.
Now, that comes back to almost the Terence McKenna thing. Is it out there or is it in here?
Well, it's both, but I think that when we go out there next time, we will have a greater understanding of what's inside as well. The stuff that's going on at LHC with the Large Hadron Collider, we're figuring out more and more about the infinite minute as well as the infinite, you know, out that way. So we need to work on both, and I think if we head out there with a greater knowledge of what's in here, that they're mutually beneficial, man. We need to go both ways.
Well, it's sort of the fractal, right?
Exactly.
Like, you can split the fractal, and it always repeats itself within and infinitely in all directions.
All parts of it are worth learning about.
All right, so we start as just a skateboarder thing, but obviously you're checking a lot of stuff out too.
Of course.
Okay, but you can't, like, you know what I mean? A lot of people aren't either. So to say you even know what's going on with the Hadron Collider, we can probably go ask anyone over there, and they're like, "What are you talking? The Hadron Collider?" But that's a judgment, and that's probably wrong on my behalf to say that.
But here's the deal. That's what I love about science. It makes its moves quietly. It doesn't necessarily, you know, raise its finger in the air and proclaim loudly what it's doing. It just quietly goes about its business, and that's fucking awesome. And that's what space does. That's what space exploration is about. Like, let's just get it done. And there's brilliant people getting it done. Not that we can just, you know, lay back and depend on them, but I think it's awesome that we're quietly going about our business. Yeah,
it's pretty far out stuff. Now, okay, on that thing, what's your take on like Tesla and free energy and that whole deal?
Yeah, you know, read a little bit about that. Not utterly convinced the same way I've read a lot of people are, that this is a, you know, perpetual motion almost always turns out to be bogus.
No, I think the perpetual motion thing's a little bit weird, but it almost kind of comes back there. The theory kind of that a lot of archaeologists don't want to get out is that all the stone structures around the planet are tied into like key nodes on the planet. It used to be a huge like power generating grid.
Right. Again, that's just testament to the limitlessness of human imagination. The answers to our problems come from the same source. If we can imagine a solution, we can make it. But we can also make up something like a power grid of ancient stone systems, which I almost guarantee, if it was investigated, would turn out to be nothing more than a fantasy. Anyone can look at anything from the past and come up with huge, you know, very detailed, complex ideas about it, but it doesn't necessarily make it true. I saw somebody investigating the Last Supper, and they decided that every position of every person on the table corresponded to a musical score, and they mapped it out and got a nice little melody out of it. Now, to say that that's an intentional thing that was put there is a stretch to me, but it's fucking awesome that you can imagine it and even make a little song out of it. But it doesn't make it true. You know what I'm saying?
Well, no, I think that's half the deal, is to go into all of it with sort of an open mind. You know, almost.
But be ready, absolutely ready to discard anything which turns out to be bogus.
Exactly. Well, no, and I think that is almost a stumbling block to our whole thing, is you have these kind of polarities of the religious people say that it's only this way, and the scientists say it is only this way, and then you kind of have all these interesting people that are like, yeah, let's go check out the stone structure power grid theory. Let's go bump into it. Let's not just say that these were tombs for some dead dude. Let's go see if something else was fucking going on here. And I think that is the almost the thing we got to get over, is that it's my way or the highway thinking.
Right. Well, I see all those components that you just mentioned as like cogs in one big machine, all turning each other. The skeptic fuels the believer in the same way the believer fuels the skeptic. Science, art, religion are all cohabiting catalysts that encourage each other, and they all point toward human progression. It's difficult sometimes, it's nasty sometimes, but it's all pointing us in that direction, I feel.
Okay, and well, that's interesting, because that kind of gets me to my part of where I'm coming from, on where I try to get through, is it's all perfect. It is all exactly as it's supposed to be, because it's all moving toward this. If we can't overcome ourselves and our own judgments about ourselves, like, yeah, we might sort of peter out, but we have to have something to overcome. Like, you know what I mean? If there wasn't sort of negative entities to forgive, how could you ever learn what forgiveness is?
Right.
You know what I mean? Is people have to do sort of kooky things to you for you to find out who you are and what you stand for and what you're not going to do to the next person.
Precisely. It's all learning.
It's a huge learning curve. Well, that's what I think's so interesting about. Right, here we are, two dudes, technology brought us together, and skateboarding and a lot of things. We're discussing pretty profound things, but they're not really. I guess is what I'm saying, is this should be almost the standard dinner fare. Is what do you think about this?
I try to turn it into the standard dinner fare everywhere I go.
Okay, you're like
People
me.
are probably sick of it, yeah.
Okay, well, no, that's what was so interesting. Like, yeah, I can't. Like, we can talk about the weather, but like, that doesn't really get me where I need to go. For me, like, we got to expand. I want to hear, like, just you and the stone structure thing was great, because I firmly believe that it's power grid.
Okay.
But I like to know that thought needs to be questioned more on my own behalf, because
exactly,
if I were to accept it any one way, that pigeonholes me to maybe it was a huge skate park for things we haven't found yet to ride, kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like snowboarding used to be.
Well, ideas, specifically psychedelic influenced ideas, are, to me, just new what ifs.
Yes.
And I'm sure they've been different. Man's been, doing this for a long time, and I'm sure that everything that's generated whenever they do is different from year to year. So what we're getting now is new what ifs. And that's why the singularity is something that McKenna came up with and was, utterly convinced that he understood it. I think it would be short-sighted and foolish to say that we understand exactly what we're dealing with here. You only get an understanding by severely difficult scientific analysis, and it's boring most of the time. Like, people don't actually like to talk about real science because it's extremely laborious, but that's brilliant. That's what I believe in. I think we have to put the effort in. I can't just sit back and go, oh, I understand what's going on because I've had a, you know, a revelation or a vibration. Like, you can feel that, and that's, you know, a great starting point, but you then have to go in and investigate. And if you don't, you're just being lazy. That's how I feel about it.
Oh yeah, no, that's what I think is sort of interesting time we're in is you can definitely choose to not investigate anything and go, like, plenty of people are sitting on the couch right now debating who's a better quarterback.
Exactly.
Like, I don't even know who the teams are anymore.
Yeah.
But you know, but part of the I can look at my own evolution of life. Like, when I was younger, I was firmly convinced about some things, deconstructed those ideas, and almost have come back to a lot of them and been like, no, they weren't that far off, but I needed to become a Republican to become a Democrat to find out that I was a libertarian, sort of.
Right.
You know what I mean? Like, most people trip that, like, I recently registered Republican, right? But I'm not a Republican. In our goofy, I'm not a Democrat, I'm not a fucking libertarian, I'm just a human being who's trying to, like, find my way through the forest.
Yeah, that's what everybody is. Political labels may or may not make that an easier task.
Well, no, that was, you know, I found in my own journey that the separation, the labeling of said individual into one particular camp is separation, denying you your own. You're basically compartmentalizing yourself.
And everybody you know.
Yeah.
Totally.
Well, and that's what's so interesting, what we were all, you know, talking about skateboarding and the language of skateboarding and the thing. And for me, I found that anywhere you go, if you have a skateboard, you're welcome.
Yeah.
And that's not the case in a lot of other activities out there, especially like surfing for me.
Of course. We have something, we do have a very pure, united, you know, conglomeration of people. It is really good, but again, it's up to us not to fucking blow that.
Yes.
Like, because sometimes it isn't so accepting, and you do see, you know, skaters treating each other not so good sometimes. And that bums me out, because I really believe that skating is so young and it's still such an early, you know, development, that we need to make sure we maintain what you're talking about. I want it to be like, in 40 years time, I want it to still be the same, where you can go to another town you've never been, and if you see somebody with a skateboard, you guys are instantly friends. I want to hang on to that.
Yeah.
I think that's got to be maintained, and it starts with, you know, just respecting your fellow man, your fellow skateboarder, your fellow anybody.
No, I'm firm. That's what's interesting. I see some kids getting all sort of edgy at times, and I go, dude, bro, I remember when there weren't skate parks. Like, there were no skate parks in the late 80s.
Right.
There was Derby.
Yeah.
That was it. And everyone drove, and then the Burnside happened, and that was the cool thing about the Burnside, was in the early 90s, it was like Mecca. Every skater was coming out of the woodwork to go, what is this thing going on up in Portland? And everyone brought that piece back and was like, you know what, we need to start getting busy with the skate park in our town. And the way I used to talk about it was when I was early politically involved in the 20s, I had this thing called Skateboarding Citizens of the Future. It was like a group to go in and fight things, because skateboarders were these young people that were unrepresented. And my whole premise was like, look, man, people have made laws against you. No skateboarding. You can't skateboard. That came through a full political machine. And so by default, you've been recognized as an entity, as a group, as a subgroup, as whatever you are. But we as skateboarders at that time were just Joe so-and-so, solo guy skating around like, fuck the cops.
Yeah.
When it was like, no, wait a minute, if we come together and we come in the system and enter the system as a group of individuals that are now a collective, no longer is skateboarding a crime, because now we're constituents.
Now you're finally considered human.
Exactly.
And acceptable entity. Precisely. And that's the main reason skateboarding has been so pushed underground, is because we're not recognized, because nobody over a certain age did it. Like imagine if the same prejudice was shown towards, you know, people that ride bicycles. Thing is, there's probably been many people, there's been many presidents in the White House that ride bicycles. They know what it is, they understand it, they partake. Because we're not living there yet, because no president has ever ridden a skateboard, as far as I know, we're still struggling to be recognized as a human entity.
Yes. Well, that's funny. My one buddy was like, I'm voting for Obama just because he body surfs.
There you
And
go,
I'm
man.
like,
That's close enough for me.
Yeah,
Fuck.
no, but that was like, that's so far out, because I was like, but wait a minute. And he's like, look, would you rather have a dude who body surfed or one who didn't? And I was like, wow, that's a profound thing, because he understands the language of the ocean, and the ocean is something that I truly treasure. And yeah, there has never been a president who's ever put his foot on a skate yet.
So, as far as we know.
As far as we know. But that's what's real interesting, as since I got involved with getting the skate park built in Malibu, you know, one of the, you know, a couple of the city council people were touched skateboards when the 60s, you know, even
Exactly, there you go. It's coming along.
Yeah,
So it's going to take, like all things, it's going to take hard work and time, but it's coming along to us being maybe not just accepted, but perhaps respected. Imagine that.
Well, no, I mean, hey, man, but that's what's so interesting. It's like the guys with who've got the big bucks, they've been brought into the system as like money people.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like if you're who's like a prime example of like, you know, one of these super mega rich skaters. They've been invited to the party, but not because they're skaters.
Yeah.
It's they're rich dudes who skateboard.
Exactly. They won in that other.
Yeah. But I think that's pretty. But however we got to do it.
They're going to bring it in. They're going to bring it in.
However we got to do it. Man.
Exactly.
Now that gets me. Oh, where did it go? That was getting. What do you? All right. This always seems to be the bigger question. What do you think about skateboarding in the Olympics?
Oh, you know, I wouldn't really care either way. It's not going to affect what I do, but I mean, you know, it's the obvious one. I'll just leave it at what everybody says, that nobody's going to pass the drug test, so we don't got to worry about it.
There's a bunch of sober skaters coming up, man.
Yeah, but hey, we're still of the old.
Yeah, I'm right there with you, man.
Okay.
That's pretty. But the snowboarders, hey, man, that's a loaded lot.
Right?
They're in the thing. I think they've got a push on the whole drug test thing.
I wonder why I haven't just thought too much about it, man. Like, I'm neither for or against, I think.
I'm right there with you. For me, I actually don't. I think it'd be kind of cool. You know what I mean? I would love to see some cats in China. Cause all right, you know what
We got cats in China.
Like
we're sending everybody to China. I've been to China to skate.
No, have you been to the fucking the city in the desert with all the marble that no one lives in?
No, but we went to Shenzhen, and that was kind of like that. They told me Shenzhen was a fishing village. It ain't no like any village I've seen, dude. It's just this massive.
So
city.
you've done the China skate thing?
Yeah.
Sick, huh?
It was really.
The illusion. Someone needs to send the illusion to China. I want to go skate China.
Get this guy out there.
Yeah, let's bring some high frequency energy over there. Well, no, if you go onto YouTube, it's called Uding or something, and it's this little movie they made, and it's the city that the Chinese built out in the middle of the desert somewhere, and it's all full of bitchin' marble and it's just built out perfect downtown, but nobody lives there yet.
Awesome.
And these kids went and just skated it, and there's nobody there. It's just perfect, but it's perfect. It's as high end of a city as you can get.
The world's a bigger place than it always shocks me every time I go traveling and I see like, oh my god, this is all here. There's so much there that we don't even know about yet. There's so many, even throughout Europe, there's all these cities. I'm sure there's just untapped skatable terrain, but the way it happens is somebody alerts everybody to the presence of this new city. Like Barcelona wasn't a thing. And I think it was probably Jamie Thomas that had the first couple clips there in Misled Youth, and then, you know, it became a thing. You got to go to Barcelona. Like, I've been to Barcelona. And then the Shenzhen thing was the same thing. It just took one or two guys going there, getting a couple contacts and being like, okay, we can do this. Then everybody flocks there. I don't know what the next city's going to be. It could be anything.
Well, no, that's my buddy. I'm bummed. I should be able to shout this out. My friend I met in England, his brother just did this crazy trip from... They went through China and all the stands.
Yeah, exactly.
And Uzbekistan and all these, and they went and they were like shredding these like.
I think Kenny Reed's been to all the stands.
Yeah, I think Kenny Reed was in he was in the deal. But it was just this, and that's where my thing is always been with skateboarding, is it's the future of like the bringing it to the next generations together. It's like skate parks are like the town halls of the future. Like for guys like me, like we hang out, man. We're doing like getting shit done at skate parks, kind of.
Getting it done without anybody telling you how to do it.
Exactly. You know, business is going down, and the future of cities are going down. Like, that's what I was trying to explain to, like, some of the people with our skate park was, no, these are the youth centers of the future. These kids come and skate, and we skate with them every day, so we know when Jimmy's having trouble at home. Yeah. We're going to catch Jimmy when he's going to make the leap from, like, smoking joints to, like, shooting dope. And we know, but we can get help to these kids.
Show them there's something
else going on, but we know where they are then. They have somewhere to go, because when life got fucked up for me at times, where did you go? You went skating.
Of course.
Right? Skating's always been a safety valve in my life. And to get that going with these cities where, like, there's people there that can help these kids when they have, like, basic life problems, but if they go unchecked, they become like throwaway humans.
Exactly.
You know, like, hey, everyone's on their journey. Plenty of, like, hardcore throwaway humans have redeemed themselves and come back heavy, dude. You know what I mean?
Throwaway humans, I like that.
Well, I think there's a certain mentality in, like, especially our culture of, like, yeah, you don't make the grade, you don't count. When it's like,
might as well destroy yourself.
Yeah, you might as well go be a drunk, homeless bum, dude.
Yeah.
I tried that out for a moment, man. It didn't work.
It doesn't work, does it?
No, well, eventually you've had enough of that story.
Well, it doesn't really help you skating.
Dude, well, that was, you know, I talk about it a lot because I'm in that whole thing, and I'm like, the only thing that kept me from, like, being like a Skid Row bum was my skateboard. Because as long as I could drop in, and I love skating and surfing so much, I didn't steer myself down darker paths. Like, I wasn't gonna go shoot dope because I still wanted to go surf and skate. Like, that was the gems of my life I was hanging on to that got me through. If it wasn't for my skateboard, I wouldn't be here now. I would have taken a really dark path. And I think a lot of skaters can say the same thing, as the skate was the one tool they had to, like, keep them moving.
Something to not be fucked up for.
Well, when you skate right, you lose all the thoughts that are holding you back.
Well, it's short-term reward versus long-term reward. You know, a particular drug can give you an instantaneous feeling of satisfaction, almost inevitably followed by a massive, you know, counter-reaction, where if the satisfaction is hard-earned by skating, it fucking lasts and lasts and lasts, and it doesn't kick your ass when it's over.
No, it kicks your ass in a different way.
Exactly.
Well, I'm starting to feel it at 43, like.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, you know. But it's, hey man, it's funny. Like, in my group, I'm like the guy who made it. Like, as far as skating goes, like, I still roll. A lot of them dudes just turn them in.
You roll and you're an internet sensation.
It's pretty trippy, dude. I don't know how that works, man. That's well, it's the power of the internet, man. You know,
you put out a good vibration and it came right back at you.
Yeah,
and people needed a good vibration around the time that you started posting your vids. You know?
Well, that was what was so interesting. I just with no clue. I think that's part of what life is, right? You just go and do stuff for no reward whatsoever. Just do it for itself.
Yeah.
Like sitting here, like, if you knew where I was and who like my attitude 3.5 years ago, this is like, I will reward myself. Like, to just hang out with Richie Jackson talking about pyramids and Terence McKenna is a profound metamorphosis back to the guy I was when I was younger.
Rad.
You know, like, I had to go explore the dark side.
Oh, for sure.
You know, it's the story of Darth Vader. You know, but I didn't have to be, like, dying before I, like, was like, oh, I see the light. It was like,
you just dipped your toe in and went, yeah, that's enough.
Yeah, I sunk my whole, I went up to my, like, waist.
Okay, I gotcha.
But it was, all right, you know, you brought up something that's pretty profound and interesting, and it ties into Terence McKenna as the shamanistic experience and psychedelics and the role they have in advancing civilization.
Okay.
What's your take on all that kind of stuff?
Well, here's what I think about McKenna. I think that He was a brilliant man, absolutely brilliant man, with a mind so stimulated by psychedelics that he was coming up with absolutely incredible creative ideas that he might not have been able to normally. He was definitely stimulated by psychedelics in an amazing way. The problem with psychedelics is not only do they stimulate your imagination, they also utterly destroy your critical faculties. Your ability to discern fact from fiction dies in the ass. I know from experience that that's the first thing that you lose. So although he was having these brilliant, amazing, creative ideas, where he went wrong is he had no way of going back and saying this might be wrong, I might be incorrect here. So he completely sold himself on the singularity and on the time wave zero, which upon further investigation is about as much of a, you know, glorious coincidence as the dark side of the rainbow when you play Wizard of Oz and Dark Side of the Moon at the same time. Anything's going to link up. Any data that you lay on top of one or the other is going to link up in some way.
The Last Supper.
Exactly, but you know, God bless him. The guy was a genius. I'm nowhere near as intelligent or, you know.
Well, he was putting it out there at least.
No, he was, but I think he was brilliant. But where it falls short for me is that he believed these things as literal fact. And I think that's the worst thing you can do with a psychedelic idea, unless you investigate it. Case in point, the discoverers of DNA, Watson and Crick, I believe it was Watson actually had the vision of the double helix on an LSD trip, because that was going around at the time for medical use only. You know, these dudes were doing it. All these brilliant scientists were the guys doing it who I think should be doing it today, rather than your average festival goer. I think it should be the scientists taking it. Anyway, he had that vision, which was, again, just a new what if. But he went there and investigated it and found that it linked up with what he was seeing, and he was right, and he proved it, and there it is. We now know DNA exists. So there's a way to do it that isn't the McKenna way, it's the Watson and Crick way. That's how I think it should be done.
No, and that's what I was getting at with this, because the shamanistic experience is very non-recreational.
Of course.
Like, it's to tear down the barriers, to see something new, and then kind of go back and examine that. Like,
true, but the shaman only administers the medicine and guides the trip, and sells it to everybody that it's literal fact, because that's his role in society. The scientist, to me, I will take over the shaman any day.
No, I'm grooving with you on that.
The scientist can be the shaman.
That's more where I'm going at is to free, like, you know, I mean, have you been there, right? I mean, you know what I mean. Is there something else going on in the fabric of perception?
There's everything else going on in the fabric of perception.
That's okay. No, and that's what I'm getting at with that sort of thing is because you mentioned it, and that's where I've always thought the flaw of it was it's useless as a festival goer, as like on the same. It's fun, but I've also had some pretty profound musical experiences on psychedelic with the collective thing, when everybody's vibrating on the same thing, and some pretty wild shit's going down, and it's really interesting. And I think that I almost think that it's being used against us on a certain level, because what I found getting sober is that all the information that is still there, and the ability to manipulate my perception is profoundly easier to do there. But without the jump start of perception, I never would have gone with the journey. But I never bought it as real. You know what I mean? Like, you know when you hear people and they get all spun out on a trip, right? And I always never went there, because I always knew I'm just tripping out.
You're just making it up.
Yeah, I'm flying on acid.
But where it gets interesting is that, you know, again, there's always a question. We are, in a sense, making this up as we go, because we're taking in stimulus and reconstructing it through our neurons, and I'm piecing together this situation moment by moment. But people take that and run with it and say, well, then I can make up anything. And it's like, yes, you could, under the right chemical conditions. Absolutely do that.
Well, no, that's what gets so interesting with. Have you ever checked out that holographic universe stuff?
Yeah.
And that, you know, there's some really far out stuff going on with science and technology and quantum physics and string theory, and all of these things going on.
What I think about the holographic universe is that we've created holograms and we know how they behave because they're a thing that we created in this universe. So when we investigate the universe as a whole and find that it behaves like a hologram, what did you expect it to behave like?
It's fractal. It's the fractal, of course. Well, like that's the weird thing of like, the more you look further in space, like the more you see, kind of thing, because you're looking. Like, of course, that's all right. This is something I've always tripped out on, man. Back in the day when the archaeology thing was like the big deal in the 1800s and stuff, right? These guys used to go, all right, man, I'm heading out into the Gobi Desert. Before there was technology and Landsat and satellites, I'm going out to the Gobi Desert and I'm gonna go find this bone, right? And they go out in the middle of, they didn't know where the fuck they were. They just going, we're going out there and we're going to find this dinosaur bone. And they sure enough go and find the fucking dinosaur bone, right? Now, were they creating it like self-fulfilling prophecy? Were they like self-determination? Like they knew what they were going to get, so of course it was there.
Right. Well, it's like Watson and Crick. It's all based on the prior knowledge that you've accumulated. You make a prediction based on the data that you already have. They knew enough at the time to suspect that these fossils were out there. So that's the information that you base your expedition on, and you're looking for that goal. So that's in a sense a self-fulfilling prophecy.
Yeah, no, I just something about that whole thing, because they were going into like uncharted regions of the like planet. Like, I get it now, like, yeah, it's our best bet if you go up to if you go to the lake beds up in Montana, you're gonna find this. But when those guys were really busting out into like these interregions of these uninhabited parts of the world, nobody knew what was out there, and they went and found what they were looking for. And it reminds me of that whole. Have you ever read the book The Alchemist?
I haven't. Who's that by?
It's an alchemist. It's called The Alchemist. It's a real short story, but it's about a kid who wants to go discover gold and find gold, and he's got to go on this whole journey, and he gets all the way across the thing, and the box that he finds after his journey is like, the gold's right where you were sitting.
Okay.
But he had to transform the whole, the alchemy. Like, he had to transform nothing into the gold. Like, and it was this journey, and it almost seems to me that there's something deeply profound with the exploration and knowing what you're looking for, and the more far out thing you're looking for, the more potential it is to be like, wow, that's fucking radical.
I absolutely agree. And I think that there's limitless mystery and magic in every square foot of reality, of the space-time continuum. Of right here, there's enough in this bench to keep astrophysicists entertained for eons. So in the way, the gold is right here. Well, this is the gold.
What's the biblical proverb? The whole universe is contained in a mustard seed.
Exactly. Poetry and philosophy are guessing at it, but it's going to be science that proves it.
That's what I think so profound with the time we're in, man. Is like, there's no limits, and the ones who say there are limits scare me. Like, why if I can think it up, it's not that crazy.
Right, well, religion is limiting in that sense, because they say it's on paper, it's unchangeable, this is what happened, that's walled off, it's done, it's sealed. That's got to go.
Well, that's what I trip on, like, all right, man, and this is not bashing anything, it's just a thought. Like, you go into the weird thing that's going on with the Muslim and the Western culture right now, those guys invented zero, right? That's some pretty far out, off the chart thinking back in the day, and those were Muslim dudes. So where is this crazy wall come? And I know it's just media propaganda with that whole thing, but you know what I'm saying? The clash of civilizations. We live with, all of our science is based upon the fucking zero. So is there really a clash of civilizations? I don't think so. I think it's made up.
I think at the core of it, what I identify is that people think divergence of belief is an excuse to kill somebody. That's always been retarded in my book. And take religion into the picture, take it out of the picture, it doesn't matter. The fact that you would consider a divergence of opinion a warrant to kill, that's fucked. that's
and I think that's where we're getting at right now with the In Lakesh. there you are another me and I'm another you. It's like,
Yeah.
who are you to
Kill yourself.
You're gonna kill that. That's what's I think, but that's the final bridge we have to like kind of get over, is this killing off of people for diverging ideas. And dude, I get some pretty. That's what's interesting with the computer world. You get some pretty spun out people out there, and I've lucked out and somehow dodged that bullet. But I've also embraced a couple of my dark forces out there and said, hey man, like I'm all for you. Like there's this cat, Donnie Darko something, where I write, and he makes the most twisted shit ever. But we're like buddies because I didn't jump on it as like a hater thing. I was more like, whoa, dude, you're kind of really interesting on a different polarity. And he sends me crazy things like, I'd like to see if your high frequency energy, we should go back to like Dachau and see if your high frequency energy can get it through the thing. And I go, that's a pretty profound test of forgiveness and love and empathy.
There you go.
And can we forgive it? Because I bumped into like a bunch of Occupy Wall Street people, right? And I was like, all right, man, you guys win. What are you going to do with all these guys? Well, we're going to imprison them and put them before tribunals and fucking execute them.
They're just as bloodthirsty as their captors.
And I go, okay, I got with you. Have you forgiven Hitler yet? What? No, you can't. That guy was fucked up. And I go, dude, if you can't forgive that guy, you can't forgive anyone, dude. Like that's the. If you can't forgive these dudes, and that's all they wanted. That was their whole role in our dream, was like, can you forgive the gnarliest? You know?
It's like, you know, the concept, that's why the concept of infinite compassion remains a religious idea. We have yet to realize it ourselves.
Yeah. Well, it's a constantly evolving thing, like personally, right? Like, like what is it? Like, is it a judgment to say that like a homeless guy is worse off than you because maybe he's figured something out?
Exactly.
Like my spiritual guy turned me on to that thing. Like, yeah, don't judge the homeless guy, dude. He might have the answer.
Yeah, I think that's a bad byproduct of capitalism, is that people are willing to walk past a human being suffering in the street based on the mere principle that they'll be better for it financially.
Yeah.
Like, you know what I mean? Like, don't associate with him. He's got no money. Stick with us. You'll be rich one day. You know what I mean? That's fucked up. That's a mass delusion that I find very, very discomforting, is that everybody's walking around thinking they're going to be rich.
What is
Every
that?
single person you talk to, they're like, I'm not rich yet. One day.
No.
Like, no, you're not. Statistically, it's not going to fucking happen. Like, at best, you know, you'll live your whole life with that dream and, you know, maybe you'll achieve it, but the majority are going to die without making $1 billion like they think they are. And that's something that's got to change. I would like to destroy that delusion instantaneously.
Well, no, I think that's half, we were talking about why I got, like, my dharma. Like, I live in Malibu, right? And there's dudes who have more money. They're those guys. They have all the money, but they will never be able to buy my wealth out there, being able to go surf and know where the little magic rocks are in the mountains and the whole thing. Because that's the thing, right? When you find out what wealth really is, it's not fucking fake money.
It's certainly not monopoly money.
It's this internal happiness and the ability to extend a hand to someone in need.
Right.
And give to them, not out of like self-gratifying, but like, hey dude, like, can I help you out, bro? Like,
exactly.
You know, and it's a dangerous game sometimes. I don't advise anyone just to put a homeless person in their car, dude, but that's...
I'm going to go ahead and say that this idea is not a whack job idea by any means.
No.
That's fucking awesome.
Yeah, well, yeah, it takes... I'm a firm believer that your energy is what it is. When you know the right time, you will put the homeless person in your car because you're not going to manifest a dangerous entity in your life because that person is as a reciprocation of love.
Right.
You know what I mean? The bleeding heart mentality of like, just go and do, like, well, you might be fucking with that dude's flow too.
Exactly. The thing is that, you know, it's almost foolish to think that you understand what the homeless person's emotions are and what they want. I mean, that's a lot of people use that as an excuse to not help them, But with my experiences, like, they have their own stuff going on.
Yeah.
They really do. A lot of them, you know the guy that blew up with the policeman giving him the shoes in New York? Like, they keep trying to help this guy. They keep trying to give him stuff. He has an apartment in New York that he just never goes to. And they said he has a history of turning down services. So maybe that's his thing, you know? Maybe he's working off pride. Maybe he's working off just the way he sees the universe. He doesn't want anyone's assistance. He doesn't want capitalism's assistance. He doesn't want anything. Maybe.
Well, no, that's what I think. Like, there's a certain aspect of, like, when you go insert yourself into somebody else's reality in those things, are you asserting it from a place of love? Because then you're not forcing anything on them, or are you doing it to make yourself feel better? Like for example, sometimes people just want to be left the fuck alone.
Exactly.
Right? And who are you to interject yourself and try to make their world how you perceive it should be?
People have been trying to outline a definitive moral code since the dawn of time, since we could speak. And the only thing we've been able to do is just go at it step by step, day by day. And that's what we're doing now.
That's it.
You just got to play it you got to play it by ear, man. That's all there is.
That's it. All right, man. I think we've gone the distance on this one. 1 hour exactly, dude.
Wow, how about that?
This was a good one. We're running it straight, no edits.
Sick.
All right,
he
man.
He doesn't edit.
Yeah, we're not doing it because this one was spot on, and we went right to the source of a lot of deep stuff, and we talked about skateboarding. This is The Illusion. This is Richie Jackson.
Whoa, no. This is The Illusion. This is The Singularity.
The Singularity, yes. We're two brothers from another mother who have met on this fine, beautiful spaceship that's known as Earth, and hope you guys are all having a high-frequency day. We're having a bitchin' one, man. I'm feeling it, dude. And that's that.